Machine, pencil, cartography. Today we will discuss ergonomics pertaining to balance as a vital skill in podiatry. Balance is a skill that is used universally across almost every sport out there, whether this sport is gymnastics, where balance is really a focus and a priority, or whether this sport is something else like track and field or even hiking, which lends itself very nicely to orienteering and navigational applications. My inspiration for writing this video came from watching embodied agent AIs learn to walk, and I remarked about how the AI should learn to balance first, as this is a foundational skill in podiatry. In an analogous examination, we may watch children learn to walk, and it can be remarked about how children will learn to crawl first, because this technique for ambulation requires less balance. Balance is a skill that will gatekeep and prevent an infant from accessing the more refined podiatric techniques. When an infant learns to walk on 2 feet, this is considered a developmental milestone for them. The podiatric stance, where the pedestrian stays upright on 2 feet, is technically referred to as the orthostatic posture. We may pretend like we are performing balance examinations, such as in high school physics class, where we will examine a balance. We will have the fulcrum, the lever arm, and the arrangements of the masses. When we perform these estimations, we will remember that we are performing torque calculations and that the units of torque are given in Newton meters. The fulcrum of your balance are your feet, and you may try different pedestrian stances in order to improve your balance. In podiatry, your stance is often referred to as your base of support. It is worth noting that having a wider stance will usually result in having better balance, because your stance could hold up to a greater amount of torque. One specific balance technique that I use a lot on the trails is known as the box step. The box step is a technique that you will utilize in inclined plane podiatry. When one foot is at a higher elevation than your other foot, the box step will allow you a stable base of support, and a navigator will commonly use the box step to maintain excellent balance while they are resting. Therefore, the box step technique is definitely worthwhile to remember. Next, when discussing balance, there are various different techniques called contrapositioning techniques. I have discussed on this channel several techniques which demonstrated contrapositioning. We may contraposition to the front or the back, which pertain to the quick posture and the pedestrian braking posture, respectively. We may also contraposition to either side of the pedestrian, which would result in these awkward techniques where you stick your arms out to either side. These techniques are usually referred to as contrapositioning techniques. Another thing which is known about balance pertains to the positioning of metacentric height. It has been demonstrated that the taller an object is and the further away from the fulcrum the object is, the greater amount of torque that this object will experience. Therefore, there are techniques which involve adjusting the metacentric height of your body in order to reduce the amount of torque which will affect your balance. The lesson to be learned is that your cargo should be moved lower on your body. If you could put all of your cargo below your waist, then this would improve your balance significantly. This would suggest that wearing cargo shorts actually improves your balance, because placing the most heavy objects in your bell in the pockets of your cargo pants will move the barycenter of your body, meaning the center of gravitation, lower than if you place these items in your backpack, resulting in having better balance. The implications of adjusting the metacentric height of your body will also suggest that you will have better balance if your body is slouching, because your metacenter will be positioned lower than if you were pretending to be slender. Some final comments pertaining to balance. The trekking poles, or paddles, are a cheater's technique to improving balance. I have been warned not to overly rely on my trekking poles because it is believed that I would become undisciplined and that this would negatively impact my balance. Having good pedestrian balance will make you more poised and more excitable. Having poor pedestrian balance will be an encumbrance, which doesn't allow you to move very effectively. One thing that I find interesting is that bicycles have very poor balance, and that balancing is the most important skill for a motorcycle athlete. As a result of this, the primary limiting factor on how fast an off-road athlete could navigate over terrain may often be how well they can balance on uneven ground. Therefore, I have performed navigational considerations for balance, where I may examine the roughness of each terrain using topographic measures of flatness in order to topographically quantify how well a person could balance while navigating over that terrain. While examining cultural considerations for motocross athletes, I have determined that riding a motorcycle is like riding a bull, and you could say that balancing your motorcycle while riding on uneven terrain is like riding in a rodeo. You can imagine that your bike will do all sorts of things and that you need to balance correctly, even as the bike and the saddle are doing everything in their power to miscarriage the rider. I have examined this and I have remarked that this was like a rodeo and that riding a motocross bike was like riding a bull. You may expect that your bike will hit many bumps and that if you are not disciplined, you could be miscarried from your motorcycle. If you want more information about this topic, perhaps you may be interested in my video pertaining to passenger security, which explains how vehicles and their passengers become separated. Anyways, this has been Machine Pencil Cartography. Thank you guys for listening, and I will be signing out.